Saddling up is a renewed phenomenon for Tennessee Walker Bo. So is fresh water, sweet, plentiful pasture grass, and readily available oats. But after 3 years of neglect, Bo's back. Just a month ago, every rib was visible on the 15-year-old horse. Thanks to Linda Lambert and Diane Lowry, Bo was rescued and rehabbed. The two longtime riding partners founded Panhandle Equine Rescue, Incorporated, in February. They're animal cruelty investigators who have been appointed agents by an Escambia County judge.
We do go by the Florida statutes, and we did have to do a lot of research on that. And we've also talked with the county attorney down at the Sheriff's Department, and he's informed us of what we can and cannot do.
The volunteer pair spend hours each week following up on mostly anonymous calls. They do have the jurisdiction to confiscate an animal. So far, they haven't had to. 5 owners have relinquished instead to avoid possible prosecution.
If we can educate them or help the owner to help the horse. We would rather not seize the horse.
Ray Gibbs owns one of the nonprofit's foster farms.
We can't stand to see any animal malnourished. So we love to take them and show what we can do with them in a short time.
He's worked wonders with Bo, who is now, according to volunteer trainer Jim Nolan, ready for permanently greener pastures.
And it's just a point of this horse being taken care of and not have to suffer anymore compared to what they've been through. I don't mind.
Diane says her heart for horses literally aches over past cases, but that now having the authority to actually step in and help is empowering.
It gives me hope for the future of the horses in this county, that they're not going to have to suffer anymore, that there can be something done about it, even if that means just educating.
In Pensacola, Florida, I'm Catherine Daniel, News Central.
Horses are Diane Lowry's passion.
And it's just something I think that you're born with, and you never lose it.
She's turned that passion into a mission.
It all started here in Escambia County when I came across 2 horses that were very emaciated. And after going through the proper steps and contacting the proper authorities, nothing was done.
That's how Panhandle Equine Rescue was formed.
We have helped a lot of horses. We've helped a lot of people to help their horses. And people are knowing now who they can report it to, who will actually go out there and do a thorough investigation.
But taking care of a neglect or an abuse case is not an easy job, and that was never more evident than in a recent case in Escambia County that began right here on this property and involved a little horse named Tuffy.
It was just amazing that the horse was still alive.
Connie Brown was called to help with a horse that was obviously in trouble.
There was a filly laying on the ground, but before we even got close to it, you could smell how rotten it was. We saw blood coming out of its mouth.
They named her Tuffy and tried to save her, but she died 3 days later.
She died from being basically starved to death and overwhelming infection and never received medical attention.
Making the death worse, the owner, they say, wasn't punished.
The message that's being sent out there is you can do this and you will get away with it.
Enforcing laws already on the books is the answer they're looking for, and then maybe Tuffy hasn't died in vain. In Escambia County, Florida, Debbie Williams, News 5.
Panhandle Equine Rescue says several people have called offering help for an abused donkey after Channel 3 News first reported the story last night. We want to warn you that some of the images you're about to see may be disturbing. 38-year-old Terry Skinner of Molino and 33-year-old Matthew Ramsey of Cantonment were arrested yesterday on animal cruelty charges. The two are accused of dragging the donkey down Highway 29 just south of Molino for about 76 feet. The animal was tied to the back of a pickup truck, and witnesses say one of the men was beating the donkey with a whip. The sheriff's office says the 2 men admitted to dragging the donkey, but said they were just trying to take it home. Panhandle Equine Rescue transported the animal to veterinarian Dr. Hank Lee in Atmore. Dr. Lee says the donkey, now named Jenny, will survive. If you would like to help or adopt Jenny, contact Panhandle Equine Rescue at 850-587-27. Girl.
Rose Winchester loves all animals. She has 8 dogs, dozens of horses, but donkeys are her favorite.
I said their personality is like mine. They have a mind of their own.
Rose is a Panhandle Equine Rescue member. Jenny's case broke her heart, and she immediately volunteered to foster the traumatized and severely injured animal.
A challenging job, the defensive donkey was not an ideal patient.
Compared to a Bengal tiger, or she was difficult to deal with at first, but we managed.
Jenny's physical wounds are healing nicely, but she is still very moody and afraid of men. Today she follows Rose around like a large dog, and they spend most of every day together. To celebrate Jenny's recovery, Rose is throwing a rescue reunion. So many folks took part in helping her, and Rose wants to celebrate them all. Escambia County Sheriff's Deputy Christina Hernandez was the arresting officer in Jenny's case.
I got attached to her. I've got pictures of her at the house. I mean, she doesn't live with me, but she's really pet number 9 for us.
Panhandle Equine Rescue President Diane Lowry says Jenny's condition was the most violent and unacceptable case of abuse she's ever seen. The silver lining, Jenny attracted national media attention. Offers of help and donations poured in, and many still want to adopt her.
Yeah, they called from Canada, Mexico, New Hampshire. They said they would come down here and get her.
Jenny's been legally signed over to the group. Foster mom Rose will decide when and where she goes. But Rose won't relinquish her until Jenny is totally rehabbed and hopelessly spoiled.
We're working on it. See, it wouldn't take much.
Catherine Daniel, Channel 3 News.
Well, many people may not know about a group in the area dedicated to the protection of horses. In fact, some of their billboards have popped up on area roads. As Channel 3's Lisa Bell explains, Panhandle Equine Rescue just tried to save one animal whose owner is now facing charges.
Totally emaciated, saturated in pus and blood on her hip from the wound, maggots and flies. It was on her hip area, and if she tried to move, you could hear the gushing of air, and you could see the pus pouring out.
Linda Lambert with Panhandle Equine Rescue is describing the condition of an 18-month-old horse found in an Escambia County pasture about 2 weeks ago. A neighbor had reported the sick animal to authorities.
This animal was beyond the turnaround point. We did take her into the veterinarian hospital, where she subsequently died 3 days later.
The horse's owner, James Killam, was arrested and charged with animal cruelty. The 76-year-old owns Circle K Western Wear in Escambia County. He says he's raised horses for over 50 years and has never had a complaint.
It was eaten with the rest of them, but it couldn't gain no weight.
Killam says he was treating the young horse with penicillin, but he says his neighbor trespassed onto his property and stole the yearling.
She went over in my pasture and got my horse, and how she got it home because it was unbroke and it wouldn't lead. And she undoubtedly drug it over with something. I didn't see the hip till I got over to her house and saw it, and it was a fresh wound.
Ultimately, the court will decide whether Killam's a victim or responsible for the abuse. If he is found guilty, Killam could face time behind bars. Lisa Bell, Channel 3 News.
Panhandle Equine Rescue is now a nonprofit organization with court authority to seize and rehabilitate abused horses. If you see any abuse, we ask you to report it by calling 587-2754 or 587-5300.
You've accomplished a lot.
Linda Lambert and Diane Lowry are visiting an old friend. Sage used to be in bad shape.
Did they decide it was an injury?
Cruelty investigators Lambert and Lowry are the founders of Panhandle Equine Rescue Incorporated, a nonprofit organization with one goal in mind: protecting horses.
Sometimes there are crimes that have been committed, and when there's a crime, we call it a crime, and we go from there. We get the court system involved.
They got a call about this injured filly on January 30th.
The vet said she's severely neglected and malnourished.
3 days later, the horse died. Its owner, James Killam, was arrested. His court appearance was Wednesday.
Because the animal died as a result of all of her infection and her debilitated state, it should be a felony, which it's not.
Because the prosecution couldn't prove Killam intentionally neglected his horse. Instead, Killam pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor charge of abandoning animals. His sentence? Pay the court and vet bill.
We would like for the laws to be changed that if an owner does this to this point and the animal dies,
We would like for it to be a felony.
We tried speaking to Mr. Killam on camera, but he turned us down. He did say this, however. He says he's happy with the judge's decision, and he feels he's done nothing wrong. He also said he feels like his horse was stolen from him, and he had no idea his horse was hurt. But Lambert and Lowry say they aren't singling out Killam. Here's a look at another dead horse. Its owner, Joseph Campbell, didn't get a full sentence Wednesday either.
The courts and the state attorney office has to do their job, and they have to call a crime a crime.
So these ladies say they're headed to Tallahassee to make a change.
He got his attitude back.
So they can save more horses like Sage. In Escambia County, Florida, Hugh McCrae, Fox 10 News.
To learn more about the Panhandle Equine Rescue Incorporated, visit our website, fox10tv.com. Animal Control sees dozens of animals from a cantonment home. Fox 10's Christina Leavenworth has more.
Chickens, rabbits, a donkey, and a goat were all crammed into this little pen. Rescue workers were called in to help. When they got here, they were shocked by what they saw.
We saw some pretty deplorable conditions. There were rabbits, chickens, a donkey, and a goat that were living in a small chicken coop. And they were all standing in their own feces. The rabbits had no food and water. Yesterday, from what I understand, the donkey had no food and water also and was very lethargic.
Charlie Wilkinson works next door. He witnessed the alleged abuse.
It was a really small pen, so they probably didn't have a lot of room to walk around.
You can see how skinny this donkey is. You can see the bones protruding from his shoulders and his hips. And look at how all these sores cover his body.
Yesterday, the chickens were on his back pecking the sores.
And look at how thin this goat is. So what about the owner?
We have contacted the owner by phone, and he is out of town, but he's only been out of town not even a week. And this didn't happen in just a week's time. It took a long time for these animals to get that way.
Rescue workers are naming the donkey Gideon. It means mighty warrior. Hopefully one day, this malnourished and scared donkey will live up to his name. In Cantonment, Christina Leavenworth, Fox 10 News.
Yeah, this donkey is emaciated. You can feel the backbone, the hips, all of the ribs. This is a body score of a 1. This donkey looks to be parasite infected from the loss of hair. This donkey is very itchy.
A donkey, goat, dozens of chickens, and several rabbits were left here in this small area to fend for themselves while the owners are on vacation.
Neglect, plain and simple. No food, no water. Could be diseases here.
Diane Lowry with the Panhandle Equine Rescue sees these types of abuse and neglect cases all of the time. She says these animals haven't been fed for days, maybe weeks. Their water is dirty and they're living in very poor conditions.
It's really frustrating. It would take so little to come out here and feed and water these animals.
Neighbors say this has been an ongoing problem for some time. They believe the owners don't have the means to care for their animals.
That it was just horrific conditions.
Gina Wilson tends to the animals next door and says it takes a lot of time and attention, something rescue workers say these creatures haven't received. It angers her to see this type of abuse happening right next door.
And they need to at least have a small area to graze. If not, they need to be supplied with an ample supply of hay and grain.
The owner is being charged with animal cruelty. If convicted, he could face jail time. Now, as for the animals, they were taken to the vet and are being cared for. Reporting live in Escambia County, Arno Valley, Channel 3 News. The Escambia County Sheriff's Department located the owners who were on vacation in Indiana. They left their animals unattended here to fend for themselves. Our cameras were there this morning when the Panhandle Equine Rescue were called to assist animal control. They removed at least 50 chickens, a half-dozen rabbits, a donkey, and a goat. Concerned neighbors told officials about the situation, and they believe the animals hadn't been fed for days. Their water was filthy.
The slaughter of a dozen animals, dogs and horses, shot and left to die where they fell. Channel 3's Molly Barrows reports some residents in Beulah say it appears the animals were used for target practice.
Desmond Davis knew something was wrong when he went to feed his dogs and horses Monday night on the Beulah property he rents for his animals. The stable doors were open and several horses missing.
Things began to look strange all the way around, and the more we looked, animals dead and all that kind of thing.
Davis found 7 of his horses, including 2 foals, shot repeatedly. 5 of his English setters were also killed in their kennels. Neighbor Melissa Brown helped him search for his injured animals. 1 colt was dead, his mother nearby barely alive.
The one down here that was deceased on the spot is just, it's sad. He's all crammed up in the bushes. The one mare that was still alive when we got here, who they really couldn't do anything for, she was pushing her way into some bushes, and we were trying to get her out to console her, but she just pushed her way into a fence and into some bushes and just collapsed and died.
Friends and vets worked to transport and save 4 of the horses still alive at the time. There was no hope for one stud.
They didn't tie him up, but it looked like somebody just tied him and just target practiced with him, just target practiced with him. It was so sad. It is so sad.
Davis arrived here last night to find the chain missing from his normally locked gate. Deputies don't know who did this, but say it's possible the suspect was familiar with the property because there's no way to see the kennels or the horses from here.
Davis says he had some bathroom fixtures that were also shot up, leading him to suspect kids. The 79-year-old man says he has survived a lot, including war and illness, but it doesn't compare to losing the animals he raised by hand.
This is the most uncalled for thing that, of all the things that I've ever seen that happened, you know, to me here. Anybody's very sick that do a thing like this, and it really is almost a tear-shedding thing.
Molly Barrows, Channel 3 News.
Rosemarie Winchester is taking care of this stallion and another dozen